Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you America's top foundational health coach, Dr. Joe D.
Welcome to MindSet Mondays. I'm Dr. Jody Baer, known as America's top foundational health coach and holistic nutritionist. It is my honor and my delight to make this a 1-hour segment on MindSet Monday because there is so much in the mind of our guest. I've been privileged and honored to work with Dr. Jim Marinakis now for a number of years. I can say that he's showed me how to assist my clients because the body is a miracle-making machine, but the mind, as we talk about MindSet Monday, is as well. For me and my 42 years of practice, I've been able to reclaim 30,000 people that have been able to achieve 1 million pounds of toxic fat loss, and recently over 3,000 clients to regain and just regain their health. But Dr. Jim Marinakis, who was our guest about a month ago, as we decided to delve into the 5 things, the 5 elements of health, 30,000 clients in 4 decades. Well, Dr. Jim Marinakis has gone ahead and saw 30,000 client patients in his first 10 years of practice. You will hear from Dr. Jim Marinakis as soon as we do a commercial break because I want to give him the most time that he deserves. You heard about the World Wide Web, www. Well, he is world class. He's world renowned. He has wisdom. And the absolute wonder of his ideas are a true www unto itself. When you hear his wisdom, when you hear his world-renowned status, when you hear the wonder of the way he puts it applicable for you and your health, this is why it is MindSet Monday. When you mind your mind, everything falls into place. And this is what Dr. Jim Marinakis is doing, has done, and will do for you in the future. So after this commercial break from our next project, which is Foundations of Health, which Dr. Jim Marinakis is going to be a part of, let's get back into this discussion about the 5 things for you and your health. Take a look, take a listen. So let's join the movement. Dr. Bernie Siegel, Dr. Jim Marinakis, and 40 others. And we've had a couple of spots left. One of them could be you, but you've got the spot right here as we're hearing from the man who is no myth, but he is truly a legend in my life and countless others. Welcome, Dr. Jim Marinakis, to MindSet Monday. Welcome back.
Jody, pleased to be here. How's everything going with you today? Good?
Because I'm speaking with you. It is excellent, excellent. And as we were talking about the 5 things, Jim, last time, and we talked about physiotherapy and the importance of this for being vital. And we left off with broccoli. So please talk about nutrition, would you?
Sure. Nutrition in the context of an energy source is really the subject. These 5 aspects of life that we were talking about and that you've asked me to go into a little bit more are aspects of life that everybody is familiar with. But the sheer definition of the word nutrition may be different for most people than the context to which I'm making reference to. As an energy source, nutrition pertains to anything that you absorb into yourself that liberates energy. that could be something you inhale. It could be something you ingest. It could be something you absorb through your skin. So the term nutrition is used in a broad context. You had mentioned broccoli. Broccoli is one of cruciferous vegetables. Broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, collard greens. These are plants that grow over the entire earth. There isn't a country in the world that cruciferous vegetables don't grow in. They're anti-carcinogenic. When you cook them, there's a chemical that becomes vitamin C when you eat it, so that it's alkalizing to your body whether you eat it raw or you cook it. It's almost a magical substance. In fact, broccoli and cauliflower are no characteristic for what they call a head of cauliflower or a head of broccoli. They're good for your brain. They also help your kidneys. They have proteins that are usable. They're extremely nutritious foods, all of them in the category. And it would be advantageous for people to eat more cruciferous vegetables. But that kind of goes without saying. However, eating more raw food is applicable to most people because the enzymes that are in raw food actually counteract the effects of many different things that we do that are harmful, even the side effects of vaccines, which cause clotting in your body, can be eliminated by taking enzymes into your system. So when I think about nutrition, I think in terms of how to balance a person's life. If they're eating a lot of cooked food, which is not natural, just getting them to eat, find out what raw food they like to eat and have them eat more of that. But food becomes very specific. If you're using food as a medicine or as a therapeutic device, you have to assess what it is that a person needs. For example, if a person's kidneys are not cleaning their blood properly, it can cause any kind of a disease. If you're able to determine that that's what a person needs, there are certain foods that are known to stimulate your kidneys. Asparagus is a good example. Most people have noticed that their urine will smell more. This is something that's being cleaned out of your blood. There are other foods that are really good for your kidneys. If your potatoes, for example, are very good. Most root vegetables are. There are some that are like, super athletes when it comes to aiding your kidneys. If you like Chinese food or Oriental food, maybe you're familiar with lotus root or lotus seed. These are particularly good for your kidneys. One of the all-time favorites as an Asian food is bamboo shoots. And you'll find them constantly in all types of Asian food because it's well known that the increased stress levels of modern times forces us to nourish our kidneys better. And the Asian cultures have learned this, so they incorporate it into almost all the things they eat. We do the same thing. We do it in the form of potatoes, for example, which I mentioned earlier. We naturally choose things that we need and things that are good for us. Beans of almost all types of beans, like kidney beans and pinto beans and things of this type, and they're shaped like a kidney.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, that is a characteristic. That is a giveaway as to what part of your body it enhances. So if you look at a animal like a pig, for example, they have very strong kidneys. Their body is literally shaped like a kidney. This is energy. This is the essence of things that is something that people instinctively are able to use. The knowledge of it still is very elusive. People studying traditional Chinese medicine learn more about it because 5,000 years ago, when that system of medicine evolved, it didn't have the proper technology. They had to rely on higher human intelligence in order to gain the results necessary for people to recover their health and to heal and to live longer.
Sure.
So all of these things are part of the world of nutrition. When you walk every day and you exercise, which I recommend, and I know that you do, Occasionally, you may change the direction that you walk in. And you might not know why sometimes, but you take a different path. And on that day, on that path, maybe there was a flower that was in bloom and you smell the flower.
Mm.
And you're actually using your awareness and your feelings to capture that fragrance and enlist it into your body's chemistry to regulate your body functions and do things that you need. Now, some people listening might say, well, that's kind of sounds a little bit far-fetched, but if you're a student of the healing arts, you may have heard of something called Bach flower remedies.
Yes.
Bach flower remedies were brought to the United States from England by a family. Actually, at one time had my own television show on the DSA network, which was bought up by Group W and then became Hughes. It was in California, and I interviewed a gentleman named Les Kaslov, and his family were the ones that had the rights to Bach flower remedies in the United States. He was being interviewed one time, and he was asked, what is different about Bach flower remedies or homeopathic remedies and conventional medicine? And he thought for a moment, and he said, well, it's really holistic. And the guy says, well, what do you mean holistic? And he goes, yeah, holistic. It encompasses the mind, the emotions, and the body, not just the body. And that was the first time anybody had coined the term holistic medicine.
Wow.
And so the idea of inhaling a fragrance and that being nutrition, something that's nurturing you, is not a new one, it's an old one. So in the context of nutrition, it's anything and everything that enters into your system that exchanges molecules with your body chemistry with the outside world. So these are very expensive terms. And in order to individualize it, you need to spend time with people and get to know them and their needs. People will always reveal what it is that they need if you're listening, if you have the language to understand what they're saying. Even the body talks, it's a language. It's caught up between signs and symptoms. Almost everybody knows what a symptom is.
Sure.
We're conditioned to be sensitive to symptoms. Most signs we read as symptoms, but they're very different. A sign is a communication between your body functions and the physical world.
Did you say science or signs?
Signs.
Okay. Because I'm thinking, I wanted to make sure that I got that right, because I believe that we know about, you and I know about signs. So continue on with signs versus symptoms, please.
Symptoms are an expression of a disease process. Diseases are categorized based on their symptoms. However, every bodily expression is not characteristic of a disease. If you take a cathartic or an emetic and you go to the bathroom, let's say that you have loose stools or diarrhea, that's not a symptom. That's the result of taking something that produced a physical reaction, a sign,
Sure.
if you will,
Sign.
a communication between your body and your mind. It wasn't part of a disease process. You can't call it a symptom by definition. Largely, people mix those terms all the time. But if you want to be accurate about restoring, maintaining your health, or becoming healthier, you have to distinguish between the two. Otherwise, you become confused and you can't really navigate through being a healthy person or an unhealthy person.
Sure.
You're just tossed around like a leaf on the waves of the ocean. So learning the difference between signs and symptoms is an important thing. Most people only experience physical expressions of their body as part of a disease process. They go through their life, they get colds, they get the flu, they get other diseases, they degenerate, they get arthritis, they get cancer, they get diabetes, and so forth. But when you're effective at changing or upgrading your energy sources, the amount of energy you get from nutrition, the amount of energy you get from physiotherapy or exercise, your body enters into what naturopathic physicians and homeopathic physicians refer to as a crisis. Some call it a cleaning crisis, some call it a healing crisis. And what it is it is an evacuation of waste material, unusable debris, molecules that are floating around in the fluids of your body, in the tissues of your body, that are taking up energy to be maintained and not producing anything in return. And your body will get rid of them, it'll throw them off. And when it is able to do that effectively, it leads to a cleaning of the body and a healing of the body. And without this, healing does not really take place. You can change symptoms. In other words, you can alter the expression of the body, but you're not changing the function of the body.
Yes.
And that's what's needed in order for people to heal.
Jim, I was thinking when you were talking, I mean, this is just sage wisdom. As I said, WWW, ladies and gentlemen, I think about our absolute great colleague who connected us. It was a conduit. This is a colleague conduit in Jay Noland. And when he first said about you, and then he put me in the same breath, it was wonderful. He said, Dr. Jim is holistic, spelled HOWLE, holistic, not half-listic. The signs and symptoms just epitomize this as being a holistic healer.
Well, the holistic is a term that is not very often accurately understood. It's really something that, as Les Kasloff pointed out, took into account the same parameters of being a holy person or holy man. You have a spirit, a mind, and a soul. And as long as they're working together, what happens is exactly what's needed. It's sometimes a general term that's applied to anything other than conventional medicine, which is not accurate. When you've combined the three parts of yourself and you're using them to tend to the body, that would be holistic. When you're a practitioner, if you do something to help the physical and you ignore the effects on the mind or the emotions, your result may be terminal. And you can see that 16%, I think, of all deaths are iatrogenic. The number 6 cause of death. It might even be higher than 16%.
Wow.
And that's because they're not taking into account the emotional and mental aspects of what they're doing with a person. And it's something that's changing. People are getting better in every field, but absent a working knowledge of all the energy sources that we need to live, we're very limited in what we can accomplish therapeutically. The energy sources that we use to live, this is how every human being keeps himself alive. The idea that we don't know how to use these things is a misnomer. As individuals, we do know how to use these things, or we're not listening to this broadcast because we're not living. So
Amen. That's good.
We've kept ourselves alive. We've gotten ourselves here. If you ask the average physician how do we keep ourselves alive, they might have a hard time telling you. But it's by accessing these 5 energy sources, and that's the only way that we keep ourselves alive. And we're doing it intuitively, but the time is coming where people are learning about it And we're going to have the ability to exercise our conscious will over those 5 things, which means that being healthy is going to become easy. Living a
Yes.
long time is going to become accessible to everybody. And this is the path that we're on. The nutrition is a part of it, exercise is a part of it.
I think that's number 3. And I would say that we're living proof. 69 and 71, 72.
72.
72.
73 this year.
Yes, you're going to be 73. I'm 69, going to be 70 next year. We'll both be in that 7th century, that divine century. But 55 years, 42 years, there's almost 100 years of experience on this screen. That's kind of amazing, isn't it? So let's go back. We've got physiotherapy, of which if you missed the broadcast, you can go back to Traverse TV. You can go to my YouTube channel and just look. It's Dr. Jim Marinakis edition. You will want to hear that first broadcast where he goes into physiotherapy, where you created your own modality, you training practitioners all over the world to do this. Now we went into nutrition and then nutrition to meditation. Do tell.
Well, meditation is a way of using your mind to liberate and access energy. When a person meditates effectively, the mind is a doorway. The conscious mind, the programmer, first learns to rest again. Most people, their mind just goes. When you meditate, your mind, your conscious mind, rests. It doesn't do anything. It observes. And this is the essential to entering into the world of meditation. You have to be able to let your mind relax so that you can observe what your spirit and your soul are doing. That's not going to happen right away for everybody. For some people, their mind is going to be so busy, it's going to keep discharging thoughts, useless thoughts that are not connected to any future. And it will discharge those until they're gone, and then there's a clearing that takes place. Things that affect your mind are energy sources. Sound is an energy source because it enters through your acoustic nerve and activates your brain. Sounds are used as therapeutic devices. There are places in the world where nothing but pure sound is used to activate a physical healing. India is a place where that's still taking place. It was used in classical China. Shaman, a Native American shaman, used drums and used sound that they made with their voice to help heal people. They only work because they're energy sources. I mean, who doesn't feel good when they hear music that they enjoy or a beautiful voice? Everybody does, because we can conduct that energy. I remember the first time I was listening to a stereo system somebody had installed in an automobile, and it was a very loud bass, and it literally shook the ground. This truck was driving by really slow, this custom automobile, and I was listening to it, and as it approached, it got louder and louder, and I just relaxed, and all of a sudden, I could feel my diaphragm, my solar plexus vibrating from the sound being given off by the stereo system in the vehicle. And all of a sudden, I felt a huge release of energy rush through my body. And I realized that in that moment that I had conducted the sound, the bass, and it opened up what they call the triple warmer in Chinese medicine in my body. I felt circulation surge through my body. These are real things. In Tibet, they play a crystal bowl. They use like a device that has a material on it so that the bowl vibrates. And it starts to put out a toning or humming sound, which is based on the dimensions of the bowl. It'll activate different energy frequencies in your body. These are energy sources. And the mind can conduct them. They are physical, but they become psychophysical when they enter in through your senses, just like visual things. So every single thing that affects your mind and is an energy source. And meditation is a key to tapping that source. When you meditate, you allow your mind to discharge stress, which
Yes.
interferes with everything that goes on inside of you. All the degenerative diseases, cancer, heart disease, diabetes, arthritis, all these degenerative diseases degeneration is energy loss diseases. The
Yes.
energy is being lost to stress. When you meditate and you let your thoughts discharge, you're eliminating the stress that has built up inside of your mind so that your body can discharge the stress and energy starts to flow again. Your body balances its chemical status and it releases energy that becomes vital force or life-giving again. Meditation is used as a treatment in many places around the world. Nothing but meditation is used to treat illnesses, and they work. People recover. Meditation is very dynamic. In India, meditation is being used to rehabilitate criminals. And
Wow.
you might say, wow, how can they use meditation? What would some mental energy source do to deter a person from committing a crime? What they do is they have an instructor teach the inmate how to meditate. And once the instructor can determine when they're effective with their meditation, then they let the supervisor know. Then a time is scheduled for the inmate to be able to meditate and by themselves until there's a breakthrough. And the operator, the instructor, knows how to tell when that breakthrough has occurred. And once they do that and they have their breakthrough, they've learned that they never commit their crime again. And I'll tell you how well this is amazing. This is meditation. They go to a halfway house. They're no longer behind bars. At night, they have to sleep inside this halfway house. In the daytime, they can go out and be with their family. They can work and so forth. They have to serve their sentence. They have to sleep in the halfway house but they've never had a repeat offender.
Never.
Not once. And this is it. Actually, the system of using meditation to deter criminal behavior is spreading throughout the world. It's even made its way to the United States.
Wow.
Being used here. And it's because it's an energy source. Whenever you want to change anything about your life, whether it's being sick and wanting to get healthier, or being healthy and wanting to get healthier, or being a world champion and wanting to set a new record, you need more energy. You need energy to change anything that you're doing. It's like being in a car. If you want to speed up, you have to accelerate. You have to put more fuel into the engine. Same thing. When you put more energy into yourself, you then have the capacity to change. And the change occurs according to what it is that your mind has programmed into your soul. That's always what happens. And that's the only way that people can really heal. They must conduct energy from these 5 sources. And one of the sources is expertise.
Well, and let's take a break on expertise. That was a perfect segue, as only you would do, Dr. Jim. Listen to one of our sponsors, Confidence Tones, energy source extraordinaire. So let's come back and we'll hear about expertise. But let's take a listen to our sponsor, Confidence Tones, and let's learn and experience brain entrainment.
Welcome to Confidence Tones, where we use a proprietary audio development formula called audio immersion to provide an experience that's designed to help quickly and effortlessly generate positive change in the subconscious mind when used correctly. This experience is achieved using 4 primary building blocks: brainwave modulation, invocation of positive emotions, immersive imagination stimuli, and developmental suggestion. We know of no other source in the world that provides the synergistic combination. With a good pair of headphones, you'll be able to immerse yourself into audio that's designed specifically to help you feel better, do better, and live better.
Yes, feel better, do better, live better. That's what we're learning about with our 5 energy sources. We've gone through physiotherapy, we've gone through nutrition, meditation, and just like you always do, Dr. Jim, you threw in a curve talking about expertise. So let's talk about expertise, because I know you've got some wisdom there.
Well, let me apply it to something real, like the confidence tones that you just shared with your audience. That would be sound, right? Something that enters, that you access through your ability to hear. I had mentioned earlier something about kidneys in the shape of a food or an animal in the relationship that it has to the organs that are shaped the same. Your ear is shaped very similar to a kidney, right?
Uh-huh.
Your hearing is associated with the kidneys in terms of kidney function, just like vision is associated with the liver. This is traditional Chinese medicine. Well, the pathological emotion that is associated with the kidney is fear. And the path of disease starts with fear. Fear begets anger. Anger begets rage. Rage begets depression or disease, same thing. And disease leads to death, or depression leads to melancholy. That's the path of disease. The path of healing is the opposite. You just turn it around. You go from being melancholic to being depressed to being enraged to being angry to being fearful. And what comes after fear, which that would be the first pathological emotion and the last one to leave, is confidence. So confidence tones, sound is an energy source that can restore confidence. And that's the name of the product, Confidence Tones. So yeah, that would be expertise that I just shared with you. If you want to repair plumbing, you need an expert plumber. If you want to repair electricity, you need an electrician. If you want legal representation, you better get an attorney. You need an expert. And if you are going to use the sources of energy available to you and integrate them and apply them as one single application, if you want to learn how to do that, the fastest way to learn is to find an expert, somebody that has effectively accomplished that, at least on 1 or 2 levels, and you want to learn from that person. You want energy. You want to receive the benefit of their expertise. That's why people know this intuitively. That's why you go to a doctor if you want to learn about health. But nowadays, doctors are not necessarily experts. If they use the 4 sources of energy besides their expertise, and they have learned by their own experience to integrate them, then they're an expert. You won't find many heart surgeons that are experts. Some of them have had their heart operated on, but most of them haven't. And I hope they don't have to. But an expert is somebody that has participated in what it is that they're doing. And if you want to learn how to use nutrition, exercise, physiotherapeutics, and things that affect your mind, you need to, the fastest way, and it's not the only way, but the fastest way, the way to get it done in one lifetime is to find an expert and have them help you or show you how to integrate all 5 energy sources and apply them as a single application. That
One
is
who knows the way and shows the way.
exactly. And that produces the quantum shift you're looking for. Like I said, it can be health, it can be intelligence, it can be longevity, it can be performance, new world record, all of those things are variables of the very same forces, which are those 5 aspects of life that all of us use masterfully in order to keep ourselves alive. Even though most people don't know that that's how they keep themselves alive, they still do it. It's programmed into us. It was the gift of our birth. But through perseverance and people like yourself, the knowledge is being shared so that people can do it. People can bring it within the scope of their own ability. That's the reason why I'm teaching. That's the reason I'm doing this interview, because more people are interested in living an extraordinary life than ever before.
True, and true.
And these are the foundations of an extraordinary life. You know that I have been teaching for VTP Go partners in their headquarters in Pompano Beach, Florida. They brought me on board to teach these things to their direct reports, to the owners of the company, to teach the administrators, executives, middle management. The more people that they make the process available to, whereby people learn how to meditate and they gain physiotherapy. We've opened a small clinic in the facilities. We've made the physiotherapy available. People go in, they get acupuncture, they get massage. It's integrated with the nutrition and all 5
World
aspects.
class. I've just got to say world class, and I've done it all, and I've been around world class. EPI, yep. It's really a performance institute. I just had to say that, yes.
And they've experienced, in the 4.5 years they've been doing this, they've experienced a 500% increase in sales. 500% increase. The investment into the employees has produced the biggest return on an investment of anything that the owners of the company have ever done.
That's a quantum shift.
Yeah, it produced a quantum shift. And so it doesn't just pertain to individuals. When it's something that you can apply to groups of people. Imagine when it reaches a critical point, when populations of people, large numbers of a population of people participate in this, the world is going to change. It is going to morph into something that has never existed before.
Yes. And you're a part of that. You're such a pioneer. And I mean, that's when our great friend, mutual friend, and a perpetual student, Mike King, said, and I know he's watching right now, shout out to you, Mike King. He said, when you bring Dr. Jim on again, I'm get a piece of advice. He said, I know you have expertise, but I've got a piece of advice. Trim down the introduction so we can hear more of him. That's where you've made a quantum shift, and you've made a quantum shift in so many people, because you are the expertise, but you listen to your students, and it's more of a dialogue and an interaction. And the interaction that I've had in EPI. And let's move on to exercise now. I mean, good grief, you can take Tai Chi classes at the Institute. It's amazing.
Yeah, we have Tai Chi classes 2 or 3 times a week. We have a qualified expert that has been participating in Tai Chi for decades. He's an Occidental. His family roots go back to Yugoslavia, but he has won 2 gold sashes in China for Tai Chi competition. He's a qualified expert. He teaches the Qigong forms, which were a secret. They weren't even allowed to be taught until fairly recently.
Wow.
And the caliber of people working there, and this is not a commercial for EPI at all.
But it can be, because it truly needs to be a commercial, by the way, just saying.
Yeah. It's their EPI, which means Employee Performance Institute, is an outgrowth of PPI, which is Personal Performance Institute. And it was developed for the sake of the employees here, but the number of people that benefited from the services and from applying these 5 aspects of life succinctly wanted to share it with their friends and family. So I convinced the owners to open it up to the general public, which they have. And the results have been extraordinary, to say the least. It's the, we are very proud of the success of the clinic, but as a prototype, we expect to expand what we're doing. As soon as employers find out that they can earn more of a return on their investment into their employees by upgrading the quality of their life through their business, it'll be something that sweeps the nation. I wouldn't be surprised if it becomes a worldwide movement, because when you can get a bigger return on your money by doing things that improve the health and quality of life of the people working for you than you can through conventional investments, there's no better combination for success.
It's a 500% increase. I was on a show promoting my book that's coming out in May 4th, and it was a real estate show. And he said, I'm not sure how, the host, the podcast host, not sure how we're going to connect this, but the person that introduced us goes, she's got a way of bringing in health into everything. I said, the way you do one thing, which is your health, is how you do everything. Consider health, and what your client has done is made health as a helicopter over everything they've done. No wonder the business has just exploded by 500%. Agree?
Sure.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yes.
Who doesn't want to do business with somebody that's smiling because they're happy and feel good? They're filled with energy.
Yes.
Yeah, the sales, it's reflected in every department too. The more people that he onboards and puts into the program, the more effective it is at expanding the business. That's and it's predictable. It fluctuates with markets, but for example, during the pandemic, where businesses were shutting down, he was busier than ever. There have been 2 teams of people sent here from Germany by the franchise owner of the brand of vehicles that they sell to analyze the business, because he's oftentimes up over 20% above the entire worldwide industry. And
wow.
Basically, it's the investment into his employees that's responsible for this. And you had asked about exercise. You mentioned Tai Chi, but we actually start everybody out walking.
Yes.
The most basic fundamental exercise, obviously, is breathing. You can't you can't do without breathing, at least not for very long. But do you know holding your breath can be very therapeutic? I'll talk to you about that in a minute if you remind me.
Okay.
But next to breathing, walking is the most natural thing that we do. However, for about let's say, a little over 100 years, people have stopped walking everywhere. And you can see that the increase in disease and the lack of health has skyrocketed since people have stopped walking. And for 999 million years, 999,900 years, people walked everywhere to get food, to get shelter, to visit, to go sightsee, anything that they were doing, they had to walk to get there. And we evolved around that stimuli, that energy source. And walking is a very dynamic exercise. For those of you that are familiar with electronics, an alternator or generator that makes electricity works by taking a conductor of electricity, something that'll conduct electrical current, and passing it back and forth through a magnetic field. And this conductor is called an armature in a generator, an alternator. And the magnetic field is the winding that is around and that the armature is housed in the device. And that causes a flow of electrons every time it's passed back and forth through the field. Well, the magnetic field of the Earth, what we call gravity, provides the very same thing to human beings or living creatures. When we move up and down in the magnetic field, our body, which conducts electricity, anybody who's ever been shocked knows that the body will conduct electricity, right? Well, your body becomes a living dynamo. You become a human generator by walking or taking a step. And if you go out and you walk every day, you will start to generate vital energy that you need to live. And you'll become smarter, you'll become healthier, you'll become stronger, and you'll live longer.
I got to do a 30-second commercial in here on this one about my experience with the walk, because I was definitely not having to do that, being a marathoner and a runner. And you were so patient with me. Notice the name of Dr. Jim's company, Vital Essence, because it's vital energy. I went out, this was still when I was competing. Now I'm doing other things with my exercise and recalibrating my life in that area. However, I went to run a half marathon. All I did was the walk. And you were so patient with me, as you always are. And you said, just give it a try. And I just knew that you were allowing me to be in my attitude, et cetera, et cetera. I went out and ran that half marathon, got a personal record best by doing this walk, and didn't hit any wall, didn't have an injury, and felt energized afterwards. So it's confession is good for the soul. I just had to throw that in because people know me as a triathlete and a distance runner. So it's really the truth. Jim, this walk changed my life.
Oh, there was a United States Olympic athlete, Bruce Wilhelm, who was an unlimited heavyweight weightlifter, who came to me in 1976, early in the year. And he couldn't compete anymore as a weightlifter, and he wanted to enter into the World's Strongest Man contest. And he had lost his health as a result of using steroids. And his brother had sent him to me. I had a clinic in Scottsdale, Arizona at the time. It was on Scottsdale Road. And he mentioned to me that he had been given steroids when he was an athlete for training, and that as a result of it, his body started to demineralize. And this happens. There's the adrenal gland collapses, and it stops producing the chemistry that regulates your mineral balances. And so as a result of it, the reason he couldn't exercise is he would literally tear off a chunk of bone when he went to do a maximum exercise. And he'd go into the hospital. They would surgically reattach the piece of bone that was torn off by the muscle. But after the second time, he realized that something grave was taking place, and he went to the doctors that trained him, and they knew what was going on. They said, it happens. It doesn't happen to everybody, but it's no big problem. You won't be able to be an athlete anymore, but you'll be able to live your life like anyone else and feed yourself, dress yourself, comb your hair, but you're done as an athlete. Well, Bruce
That's
Wilhelm
devastating.
He was a true champion.
Ah.
He did not accept that. And he was going to find a solution. He just so happened to find the right person with me. And I had my own experience with the use of cortisone, which is a steroid that's used as an anti-inflammatory when you're injured as an athlete. I was injured in college as an athlete, and they used cortisone, and it disturbed my adrenal gland function. And several years, like about 5 years later, I started to experience hypoglycemia. I recovered myself by getting my adrenal gland to work. So when Bruce came to me, I knew how to recover him. And one of the things that I did was I taught him to use walking as a warm-up.
Sure.
I had him walk before he did his exercise, his workouts, and I had him walk afterwards. He did it as a warm-up and as a cool down. And later on that year, he went and won the World's Strongest Man competition. In fact, he won it in 76 and 77. So for people who don't think that walking is so dynamic, remember the story of the world champion Bruce Wilhelm and Jody Bear, who ran her marathon by only training herself by walking.
Just by walking. There you go. And we remineralize. So before we go into the final with the time that we have left with guidance, I want to hear about the benefits of holding your breath. I was to remind you, please.
Okay. Well, this is a true story. There were a group of women that were retired, living in a retirement community, and they would get together in the pool. I think there were 5 of them, and they would enjoy each other's company while they were using the pool for exercise and recreation. And they developed a game of holding their breath to see who could hold their breath underwater the longest. And one of the women had cancer, and her cancer spontaneously went away.
Wow.
But nobody knew why. They didn't associate it with what they were doing or anything like that, until another person moved into the community and came and joined the party. They also had cancer, and they participated in the contest, and their cancer went away. And so they knew after the second time that it was not just by accident.
No,
it was not a coincidence. And what I have surmised is that when you hold your breath and you're no longer inhaling or exhaling, your body sends out an SOS. And all of the cells in your body take on oxygen to make sure that you don't die.
Okay.
Because you're not breathing, so what oxygen is your blood, but now this message goes out for all the cells to take oxygen. It's an alarm, right? It's like a fire alarm. And cancer cells, when they take on oxygen, they die. They killed their cancer cells by holding their breath.
Holding their breath. Expertise comes from experience. Experience comes from expertise. I've heard you say that so many times. And my goodness gracious, let's finish this up in the time that we have left. Jim, I just really want to speak on the last of the 5 energy sources, which is guidance. Some people call it prayer, call it what you want. It's number 5.
Well, guidance is an interesting thing. That guidance is expertise. When people pray, they ask for something. They're asking for something through their prayer, or they're communicating with the highest intelligence. When you meditate, you receive answers. People use meditation to exercise clairvoyance, all predictions of the future. The prophets of the Bible, they meditated, they saw what was going to take place. This is guidance by anyone's estimation of the term. And when a person taps into these energy sources and elevates their energy, yes, their health problems go away, but their intelligence goes up. Their capacity to do things is increased. All of those 5 things that I told you come about. And they're able to access information from the higher intelligence more effectively, which is where guidance comes from. How did men know to do everything that they've done here on the earth? The intelligence came from somewhere else.
Of course.
Yes, and it was conducted through us into this world. Well, guidance is known and applied in this process that we're doing here at EPI or through PPI, and what we're teaching to healthcare practitioners, which is another part of the Institute, so that others will learn how to apply these 5 things as a single formula to bring about the changes that people are looking for. Your guidance enables you to accomplish what it is that you want, whatever your goal is. But it comes from inside of you and from around you.
Yes.
It is the communication between the spirit and man. That's what guidance is. And if people open the doorway to facilitate it in the practical world, the spirit will enter.
You have opened the door. What a beautiful way to bring this together. Mindset Monday. I always say, when you mind your mind, everything will take place. Everything will be here. Mind, emotions, body, the 5 sources. This is going to be played and replayed. And I know that you're going to be joining me with this event on the 7th of May. Our book launch with the Foundations of Health, drjody.com. You know that every book that is purchased between now and end of May, a portion will go to the Danya Safar School for classically trained and graphic artists, classically trained musicians, graphic artists, and the 21 days to your best you. And when you are with Dr. Jim and I on the 7th, you'll get to hear him again. Yes, he'll be with me, because with being by my side and I being by yours, we're just akin, just about 200 miles away in Florida. Doctor, just give us your last 30 seconds of wisdom as we wind out this amazing expose of your wisdom. www, remember, it is wisdom. It is world renowned, and it's a wonder to hear your words.
Just remember that you have the ability to accomplish every single thing you ever dreamed of as the person that you are. You've kept yourself alive. Nobody else could do it beside you until this very moment. What you need is to believe in yourself. Once you believe in yourself and you accept the wisdom of the universe, there isn't anything you cannot do. That's all for now.
Boy, that is the all for now. So catch us next week with Kimberly Meredith on Mindset Monday, because when you mind your mind, everything takes place. Dr. Jim, much love. I honor, I love you, and I just am so glad to be a part of your life. Bye for now.
See you, Jody.